About 2 weeks ago, I posted a video highlighting a failed epoxy project we did a few years ago. Once we removed it from the customer's home, I placed it behind my shop. Now, it's been sitting outside for the last few years, and now it's time to talk about it and see if we can do something cool with it. In this video, I'm going to provide the backstory to this project, so hopefully we can all learn from my mistake.
So to give you a little bit of backstory on this project, several years ago we were asked by a friend to create an epoxy countertop for an indoor-outdoor bar. Now, at this point in my woodworking career, I had not done a deep pour epoxy project. So we reached out to one of the major players in the epoxy game, I guess you would call it, to get advice on what to do, how to do it, what products that we should be using, how to properly seal it, make sure that it weathered well. Since it was going to be outside, not directly in the path of sunlight, but since we were spending a lot of money on it, we wanted to make sure that it stood the test of time. When we started this project, this building had just been built and it wasn't conducive for doing an epoxy project. So we were able to use a buddy of mine's garage, which was heated, dust-free, and we can control the temperature in that environment. I'm not going to go into the specifics on how the project was done, unless you're interested. I want to try to keep the videos relevant to what we're trying to do with it. But there's plenty of folks out there on YouTube that have done epoxy projects, and if you watch what they do, it was exactly what we did. We built ourselves a form, we set our wood in, we sealed the wood, we poured the epoxy in several layers, making sure the bubbles were popped. We followed every instruction from the vendor to a T, right? Once it was done and cured, the top looked amazing. I took several photos of it. I'll throw some up on the video here so you can see what it looked like. Per the recommendations of the epoxy company, we allowed the top to stay in the temperature controlled environment to cure for about 2 weeks. Once we felt it was safe to move the top, we prepped the area in which it was going to be set, moved it down, secured it in place, sealed it with silicone around the edges, and it was good to go. I'll also throw some pictures up of what it looked like in its original location. So after it was installed, we popped the champagne, had a little party, we were all excited. It looked amazing. Unfortunately, after about 6 months, the temperature started to rise in my area of the country, and we started to see cracks inside the actual epoxy. Not on the top, but actually inside. I was devastated, to say the least. Not only did we spend about $1,500 in epoxy, we also had about $1,000 in wood, and I can't tell you how much labor we had involved. Since it was our very first epoxy project and it was for a friend, we all agreed that we were going to do it for basically cost of materials. Once we identified that the top was basically trash at this point, we made phone calls to talk with the epoxy company to try to figure out what happened. Did we make a mistake? Did we do something wrong? The unfortunate thing was they wouldn't return my calls. We left voicemails. We sent emails. We tagged them on social media. We also even tried to put a post on their insiders page. All were denied. Never would talk to us again. So after carefully deciding what we were going to do with the top, we basically figured out there was no way for us to salvage the top for its intended use. We decided we were going to take it out. The customer decided he was going to put a granite piece in its place. So we went, we cut it out, hauled it back here to the shop where it sat in the back for the last few years. I rarely see the top because it sits behind the shop and I don't go out that door very often. But the other day I was passing by it and saw it sitting there and I thought, you know, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time that we see if we can take this trashed top and do something with it. So we thought, well, maybe this would be a good chance for us to make a few videos on taking a failed epoxy top and resurrecting it into something cool. Now, I have no idea whether or not this is going to turn into anything cool or not, but if you're willing to take the ride with me, come on, let's take a look and see what we can do.
Now, I'm not one for bad-mouthing another business, and my attempts to contact them wasn't to complain, but to help determine what happened with the project so that we never make this mistake again. If you really want to know what epoxy company it was, I'll reveal their name if this video gets 10,000 views. But I will say this, I learned 2 valuable lessons with this project. 1, epoxy does not go outdoors. And 2, don't trust a salesperson who's never used their own product. Stay tuned as we attempt to turn this failed project into something super cool. I hope. Thanks for watching.